My roommate found out I was keeping 3 guys on the hook as backups. She made some snide remarks. So I straight up sold one to her for $10,000. I don't know if that's appropriate, Emma said, her eyes darting around nervously. Suddenly, floating text appeared in the air. Girl, don't hesitate. These 3 aren't ordinary guys. A cold CEO, a rebellious race car driver, and a trust fund heir. All rich, gorgeous, with perfect ABS. This is beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Can't wait to see the main character's carefully cultivated guys end up with our girl, Emma, instead. So satisfying. Already excited. For Emma to use these men to humiliate the main character. She's going to regret this so hard. Emma's expression shifted from shock to disbelief, finally settling on pure joy. You have 3 backup guys, right? I'll take all 3. She said it like she was picking out vegetables at the grocery store. I laughed softly. 3 at once might be too much for you. Let me transfer one first. Once you've completely won him over, we can talk about the other 2. Emma hesitated, then nodded. Fine. But don't you dare regret this later.
I won't regret it, I said.
1 backup costs $10,000 cash only. Emma's eyes went wide. You're charging me $10,000. You might as well rob me. I stayed calm. Oh, then forget it. The floating text panicked. No, Emma. Don't pass this up. These guys are worth billions. 10,000 is nothing. Once you land them, 10 million will be pocket change. The main character is so short-sighted.
Poor students just don't get it.
When she realizes she let a billionaire slip away for $10,000, she'll want to bang her head against a wall. Emma swallowed hard. Okay, fine. 10,000 it is deal. It took Emma a week to gather the money. Meanwhile, I carefully selected which fish to transfer to her. Jake Turner, 21 years old, 6 feet 2 inches, perfect ABS. Student at the university across town. Middle-class family. We met through a video game. He occasionally buys me bubble tea or takeout, never spending more than $20. His parents are divorced, which made him sensitive and starved for affection. You have to give him constant reassurance when I'm with him. I play the gentle, caring older sister type. After giving Emma my gaming account and chat profile, I went through every detail of my interactions with Jake. Quality customer service guaranteed. Haha. The main character still thinks Jake is a broke college student.
Boy.
Jake just hates gold diggers. So he pretends to be poor. The main character spent all that effort and only got a few bubble teas, while Emma gets everything without trying. I love it. Emma's lips curved into a smile. As soon as she got the account, she changed the password and shot me a challenging look. Sarah, once I've got him wrapped around my finger, don't you dare regret this. I smiled pleasantly. Of course I won't regret it. I just hope you won't either. Emma rolled her eyes and ignored me, immediately logging in to chat with Jake. For the next few weeks, Emma was glued to her phone, either chatting with Jake or gaming with him. From the floating comments, things were going well. Jake hadn't noticed the switch. Emma was slowly erasing my presence, following the floating text guidance to win him over. 2 weeks later, Emma walked into her dorm room. I immediately noticed the diamond necklace sparkling on her neck. Catching my gaze, Emma lifted her chin, smirking. Jake bought me this necklace. I looked it up online. It's worth over $2 million. I nodded. It's beautiful. Emma sighed dramatically. Honestly, I don't get men at all. You're pretty and smart. You kept Jake company for so long, and all he gave you was cheap bubble tea. I'm average looking and not that bright. And I've only been talking to him for 2 weeks. He already bought me this expensive necklace. Why do you think that is? Why else? I said. Obviously because he was pretending to be poor with me the whole time. I'd known Jake was loaded from the start. Otherwise I wouldn't have pursued him. Jake and I met in a video game. Only 2 types of people play that game. Whales who drop hundreds of thousands without blinking. And grinders who farm equipment for money. Jake was the former. I was the latter. The moment I saw him in game, I knew he was special. His gear alone cost at least $1 million. Love at first sight. I immediately started getting close to him. Daily dungeon runs, good morning and good night texts, constant check-ins. One night, he opened up about his family trauma. I firmly established myself as the gentle, understanding older sister figure, perfectly manipulating this brooding, love-starved boy. Maybe afraid people only wanted his money. Jake pretended to be a broke, average student with mediocre looks. He'd often play the victim. Do you really think someone as ordinary as me deserves your love? I'm so scared that when you see the real me, you'll be disappointed and leave me. Meanwhile, I'd roll my eyes at his $1 million in-game setup. 4 rich guys, dropping $1 million in a game, is probably like us spending $100. Doesn't even register. Jake didn't even realize he'd exposed himself. But I'd sweet talk him. How could I? You're the most special person to me. How could I ever leave you? Jake committed fully to his broke persona. He'd order me off-brand bubble tea and send gifts from discount websites. Stuff that cost less than $10 with free shipping. But he had a silver tongue, carried me in games, and occasionally sent shirtless photos showing off his ABS. For a while I actually liked him.
Until one day.
I was rushing to my part-time job on my electric scooter and crashed into a roadside barrier. My right leg broke. A good Samaritan took me to the hospital. X-rays, hospitalization, treatment. It all added up to over $20,000. I couldn't afford it. So I sent Jake photos from my hospital bed playing Pitiful Baby. Can you lend me some money? I'll pay you back as soon as I recover. The result, he ghosted me for an entire month. Luckily, I found a new fish during that time who paid my hospital bills. Otherwise, I might have permanent damage. Only after I fully recovered did Jake start sending me good morning texts again, sharing his daily life like nothing happened. What a piece of trash. Might as well wait until I'm dead to pay respects in my grave. I wanted to dump him then, but I couldn't find the right moment. I couldn't afford to offend a rich guy like that. A careless breakup might lead to retaliation. So I kept him at arm's length while focusing on other fish in my pond. Maybe sensing my coldness, Jake's possessiveness exploded. He kept pestering me to meet in person. No way. Online relationships stay online. Can't let them interfere with real life. I was figuring out how to decline when my roommate, Emma, stepped up and took over this mess.
Perfect it.
She could squeeze money out of Jake. Good for her. I never envied others' gains or losses. At least I got my $10,000 cash. Seeing she couldn't get to me, Emma stopped bragging. By the way, Jake wants to meet me in person. He said to bring my roommates too. He wants to treat everyone to dinner and get to know you all. Emma glanced at me. Sarah, you're free the day after tomorrow, right? Finally, the face-slapping scene I've been waiting for. The main character thinks Jake is ordinary. When she sees our gorgeous Jake in person, she's going to lose it. But what if the main character regrets it and tries to steal him from Emma? Don't worry, Jake's already fallen for Emma. Even if he learns the truth, choose Emma without hesitation. If the main character tries anything, Jake will protect his girl and destroy her. I wanted to refuse, but Emma mentioned Jake prepared gifts for each roommate. Gold chains for everyone. I immediately couldn't walk away. Damn capitalism. On the day of the meeting, I went makeup-free in a plain t-shirt and jeans, sitting in the corner, making sure not to steal Emma's spotlight. When Jake walked in, I instinctively looked up. All skin, delicate features, cold and distant expression with an air of aristocratic pride. Truly a rich guy who casually drops millions in games. After that brief observation, I went back to my phone. Jake's gaze lingered on me for a moment before moving away. Emma rushed up to him enthusiastically. You're late. Your punishment is peeling shrimp for me later. She reached for his hand, but he smoothly dodged. Sorry I'm late, Jake said with a faint smile. I brought gifts for everyone. Thanks for taking care of my girlfriend, Emma. Can you introduce me to your roommates? Of course, Emma introduced everyone.
When it was my turn, she paused.
Sarah Mitchell, our school's campus beauty. Gorgeous and smart. So many guys chase her. She even kept 3 guys on the hook as backups. Pretty impressive. Jake froze. 3. I looked up, meeting his dark gaze calmly. I smiled slightly. Correction. Now I only have 2. Jake stared at me intensely. The atmosphere suddenly turned cold. Fortunately, the waiter brought food just then, breaking the tension. During dinner, Emma kept showing off their relationship, making Jake serve her food, peel shrimp, everything. I stayed in my corner, half-heartedly eating while replying to messages on my phone. Suddenly, someone snatched my phone away. I looked up to see Jake watching me with a neutral expression. Why are you on your phone the whole time? Don't you like the food? What terrible boundaries. I frowned but said nothing, just held out my hand, signaling him to return my phone. But Jake had zero awareness. Instead, he glanced at my screen.
What are you looking at?
That's so interesting. Can I see, too? The atmosphere turned weird. Emma looked between us suspiciously, testing the waters. Sarah barely eats anyway. Don't worry about her. Let's just enjoy our meal. Jake ignored her, staring at me intently, asking each word, deliberately. Who exactly are you texting?
Oh.
Even the most oblivious person could sense something was wrong. Now Emma's voice trembled. Jake, what the heck is your problem? You've been staring at Sarah since she walked in. You won't even respond when I talk to you. Do you even want to be with me anymore? Jake gave her a contemptuous glance.
Did you really think I was stupid?
Enough not to know who I've been talking to. This whole time? Wait, what? The male lead figured out the truth. The air in the private dining room grew so thick you could cut it with a knife. Emma's face drained of color, her eyes darting between Jake and me like a cornered animal. Wait, what? She stammered, her voice shrill. Jake, what are you talking about? It's me, Emma. We've been talking every single day. I'm the one you sent this necklace to. She frantically touched the heavy diamond pendant resting against her collarbone as if it were a talisman that could ward off reality. Above her head, the floating text flickered violently, glowing and angry, pulsing red. Warning. Major plot deviation. The male lead's intelligence parameter is overriding the blind love trope. Host, use the tearful victim tactic immediately. Emma bit her lip, forcing tears into her eyes. Jake, are you upset because Sarah was my roommate? I didn't know she was keeping you as a backup. I saved you from her. Jake didn't even look at her. His eyes, dark and heavy with a terrifying intensity, remained locked on me. He casually tossed my phone onto the table. It slid across the glass and stopped right in front of my plate. Animation canceling on the Shadow Rogue class, Jake said, his voice eerily calm. It requires a specific 0.2-second delay between the dash and the ultimate skill. For 6 months, the person I played with executed it flawlessly. The timing was almost a signature. But for the last 2 weeks, you have been button mashing like a beginner, relying purely on the $1 million gear I bought you to survive. Emma swallowed hard. I was just lagging. The Wi-Fi in the dorm. And the typos, Jake interrupted, his gaze still burning into me. When she's annoyed, she accidentally capitalizes the second letter of a sentence. Too bad. What a joke. You didn't do that once, Emma. Furthermore, you asked me about my favorite color. She already knew I don't care about colors, but that I hate the texture of velvet. You didn't know anything that wasn't typed in the chat logs. Jake leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, steepling his fingers. I knew within 3 days that the person on the other end of the screen had changed. But I played along. I bought you that tacky $2 million trinket, Emma, because I knew a girl like you wouldn't be able to resist showing it off to the person you stole me from. I asked you to bring your roommates because I knew the real her would be sitting right here. Emma collapsed back into her chair, her tearful facade entirely broken by raw humiliation. The floating text above her was having a meltdown.
Impossible.
The male lead is supposed to be blinded by the host's pure, unassuming nature. He shouldn't care about gaming mechanics. Fix this, host. Deflect the blame onto the villainess. It was her. Emma shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. Sarah sold you to me. For $10,000. She didn't care about you at all, Jake. She literally put a price tag on you like a piece of meat. You're nothing but a cash grab to her. The room went dead silent. Jake finally reacted. His jaw clenched, a muscle feathering near his cheekbone. The cold, aristocratic mask slipped, revealing the furious, wounded boy beneath. He looked at me, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Is that true, Sarah? You sold me? For $10,000. I picked up my phone, checked the notification I had just received from fish number 2, and then slowly looked up at Jake. I didn't flinch. I didn't panic. Cash only, I replied simply. And honestly, Jake, you were overpriced. Jake's eyes widened, a flash of genuine pain crossing his features before hardening into rage. I gave you everything online. I open up to you. I showed you parts of myself I hide from the rest of the world. And you sold me for 10 grand. Oh, please. I laughed softly, tossing my napkin onto the table. I leaned back, crossing my arms. You didn't give me everything. You gave me a curated, manipulative performance of a poor, damaged boy who needed a mommy figure to stroke his ego. You sat on a multi-million-dollar trust fund while making me pretend to be grateful for generic brand bubble tea that tasted like dirty dishwater. I was testing you, Jake fired back, his voice rising, the cool CEO facade completely gone. I needed to know you weren't just another gold digger. Women only want me for my money. Well, congratulations, your test worked perfectly. I deadpanned. You successfully proved that when I was nearly paralyzed in a scooter accident, staring down a $20,000 medical bill that was going to force me to drop out of college, you would rather ghost me for a month than break your little poor boy cosplay. Jake froze. The anger in his eyes shattered, replaced by a sudden, sickening realization. You're your accident? I thought you were just trying to extract money from me. My friends told me it was a classic scam. A scam, I repeated, my voice devoid of emotion. I sent you photos of my leg pinned together with surgical steel. I was eating hospital cafeteria food for weeks, terrified of the debt collectors. And you left me on read. You have millions to drop on pixelated swords and a fantasy game, but the moment the girl you supposedly loved needed real help in the real world, you vanished. I stood up, grabbing my purse. So yes, Jake. When Emma offered me $10,000 to take over the unpaid internship of managing your emotional baggage, I took it. Because unlike you, I live in reality. And in reality, rent is due, and hospital bills don't pay themselves. I didn't wait for his response. I walked out of the restaurant, leaving the two of them in stunned silence. As I pushed through the front doors into the cool night air, I caught a glimpse of the floating text trailing behind Emma through the restaurant window. System error. Male lead affection transferring. Host do something. I smirked, hailing a cab. The main character's cheat system was severely underestimating the power of practical economics. The dorm room was a war zone for the next week. Emma avoided me, spending her nights crying on the phone to her mother, trying to explain why she had maxed out her credit cards to buy a $10,000 gaming account for a guy who had subsequently blocked her on everything. Jake had confiscated the $2 million necklace before she even left the restaurant, claiming it was stolen property since it was meant for his actual girlfriend. One evening, I was sitting at my desk, quietly auditing the financial portfolios I had built using the money I'd acquired from my various fish. Suddenly, the golden floating text materialized in the center of the room. New mission triggered. The trust fund air route has failed. Host must pivot to male lead number 2, the rebellious race car driver. He is wild, untamed, and appreciates a girl who can challenge him. Host, you must acquire the villainess's second contact. A moment later, Emma burst into the room. Her eyes were red, but there was a manic desperation in her posture. I want the next one, she demanded, slamming her hands on my desk. I didn't even look up from my laptop. No refunds on the first one, Emma. You broke it, you bought it. I don't want a refund. She snapped. I want a race car driver. The second backup. You said you had 3. I want the next one. I paused, finally looking up at her. Emma, you do realize these aren't literal fish, right? They are human beings. Extremely volatile, arrogant human beings who don't take kindly to being played. Just give me the account, Sarah. How much? I looked at the floating text hovering above her head. It read, Host's current liquid assets, $55,000, secured via emergency student loan. Negotiate well. I smiled, a warm, perfectly practiced customer service smile. $50,000. Wire transfer. Up front. Emma gasped. 50? You charged 10 for Jake. Jake was the entry-level package. I explained reasonably. Leo is a different beast entirely. He's an underground racing champion and heir to an automotive empire. He doesn't play video games. He requires constant text engagement, midnight phone calls, and high-adrenaline emotional manipulation. It took me 8 months to perfectly craft the persona of the elusive, thrill-seeking bad girl he's obsessed with. 50 grand is a steal. Emma gritted her teeth. The text above her pulsed. Do it. Once you lock down Leo, $50,000 will be nothing. He buys sports cars like toys. Fine, Emma hissed. But you transfer everything to me. His phone number, his socials, the burner phone you use for him. All of it.
Deal.
10 minutes later, my bank account was $50,000 heavier. I cheerfully handed Emma a sleek black burner phone. A word of advice, I said as she snatched it away. Leo has an adrenaline addiction. He likes women who ignore him. If you act desperate, or if you try to pull that soft, crying routine you used on Jake, he will drop you in a heartbeat. I don't need your advice, Emma sneered, already unlocking the phone. I have my own methods. I shrugged. Good luck with that. For the next few weeks, I watched the train wreck unfold in real time. Leo was not Jake. Jake was a brooding gamer who wanted a surrogate mother. Leo was a feral dog with a death wish. I had kept Leo hooked by being the one girl who wasn't impressed by his cars. I acted like a ghost, disappearing for days, replying to his photos of $400,000 McLarens with a simple, meh, and refusing to ever watch him race. It drove his competitive ego insane. He wanted to conquer me because I was the only track he couldn't master. Emma, driven by the system's cliché web novel prompts, did the exact opposite. The floating text kept telling her things like, go to his race, stand in the VIP section, and look worried. Male leads love when the female lead fears for their safety. So Emma went to his underground races. She played the trembling, concerned, innocent girl. She texted him paragraphs about how dangerous his lifestyle was and how she just wanted him to be safe. It took Leo exactly 4 days to get completely disgusted. I found out the climax of their short-lived romance when Leo suddenly cornered me outside my campus library. I recognized the roar of the matte black Ferrari before I saw it. Leo stepped out, wearing a leather racing jacket, his silver hair messy, an unlit cigarette hanging from his lips. He was breathtakingly handsome in a dangerous, sharp-edged way, and he looked utterly furious. He slammed the library door shut right as I was about to walk in, trapping me between his arm and the glass. You changed your number, he growled, his eyes scanning my face as if searching for a forgery. I sold it, I corrected, looking him dead in the eye. Please step back. You're invading my personal space. Leo let out a harsh, barking laugh, though his eyes remained icy. You sold me? The girl who's been texting me for the last week, the one crying over my brake pads and begging me to drive the speed limit. That's who you handed me off to? Her name is Emma. She paid a premium, I said smoothly. Honestly, Leo, you should be flattered. Her dedication to your safety is commendable. Leo leaned in closer, the scent of expensive cologne and gasoline washing over me. I don't want a babysitter, Sarah.
I want you.
The girl who told me my drifting technique was sloppy and ignored me for 3 days. Why did you ditch me? Was I boring you? You're not boring, Leo. You're just a liability, I said, ducking under his arm and smoothing my jacket. You have a fetish for danger. You crash cars for fun. One day, you're going to wrap that Ferrari around a streetlight, and I have absolutely no intention of being in the passenger seat or playing the weeping widow. I sold the account because I was tired of acting like I gave a damn about your lap times. Leo stared at me, stunned. For a guy who had spent his whole life surrounded by sycophants and adrenaline junkies, cold, calculated apathy was a foreign language. You're lying, he whispered, a twisted smile slowly forming on his lips. You're just playing hard to get again. This is another one of your games. I assure you it's not, I said, checking my watch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an economics seminar. Have a nice life, Leo. Try not to die. I walked away, leaving him standing by his supercar, utterly dumbfounded. When I got back to the dorm, Emma was curled in a ball on her bed, sobbing hysterically. Her phone was shattered on the floor. The floating text above her was flashing a dismal gray. Mission failed. Male lead number 2's affection has dropped to negative values. He has officially blocked the host. I quietly booted up my laptop, transferring the $50,000 into a high-yield index fund. Capitalism truly was a beautiful thing. 2 days later, the system went into absolute overdrive. The golden text filled the entire ceiling of the dorm room, frantic and capitalized. Critical warning. The host is failing the narrative. The villainess is amassing too much wealth and independence. Host must secure male lead number 3. Arthur Sterling, the cold CEO. This is the final chance to salvage the plot. Emma sat up, her eyes hollow, dark circles prominent on her pale face. She looked at me, a disturbing mix of hatred and desperate greed in her expression. Give me the third one, she croaked. I raised an eyebrow, sipping my coffee. Emma, you are broke. You owe $50,000 in student loans for a burner phone. How exactly do you plan to pay for Arthur? Arthur Sterling, 28 years old, CEO of Sterling Enterprises. A man so ruthlessly pragmatic and emotionally detached that he treated romance like a hostile corporate takeover. I had snagged him by being his anonymous online consultant. I solved complex logistical puzzles for him on a business forum, slowly transitioning into a midnight confidant. We had never met, never exchanged photos, just pure, intellectual sparring. I don't have cash, Emma spat, standing up. But I have the Sterling Corporation's annual charity gala invitation. You left it on your desk. I glanced at my desk. The gold-embossed invitation was indeed missing. I had received it in the mail yesterday. Arthur had sent it to my P.O. box, a silent demand to finally meet in person. Emma, stealing my mail is a federal offense, I said mildly. I'm going to that gala, she declared, her voice shaking with manic determination. The system, I know how these things work. I'll wear a stunning red dress. I'll accidentally spill champagne on his tailored suit. He'll be furious, but then he'll look into my stubborn, tear-filled eyes, and he'll realize I'm different from all the gold-digging women who usually throw themselves at him. He'll be intrigued. I stared at her. Then I looked at the floating text, which was proudly displaying. Perfect strategy. The accidental spill is a classic S-tier romance trope. I honestly couldn't hold it back anymore. I burst out laughing. It wasn't a soft chuckle. It was a full-belly, tear-inducing laugh. Emma glared at me, her fists clenched. What's so funny? She demanded. Emma, I wheezed, wiping a tear from my eye. Arthur Sterling fires employees if they use the wrong font in an email. He has severe OCD regarding his clothing. If you spill sticky, cheap champagne on his bespoke Tom Ford suit, he won't fall in love with you. He will sue you for property damage and have his security team throw you into a dumpster. You're just jealous because you know it's going to work, she yelled, snatching her purse. You wait, Sarah. By tomorrow, I'll be the fiancé of a billionaire and you'll be nothing but a bitter, single loser. She stormed out of the room. I let out a long sigh, the amusement fading into sheer exhaustion. This web novel logic was going to get her killed, or, at the very least, heavily litigated. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I had memorized but rarely called. It rang twice before a deep, smooth voice answered. I didn't expect a call before the gala. Are you confirming your attendance, Sarah? Hello, Arthur, I said, leaning back in my chair. I'm calling to cancel, actually. and to issue a warning. A pause on the line. The temperature of his voice dropped several degrees. A warning? Explain. There is a girl named Emma crashing your gala tonight. She stole my invitation. She is under the delusion that if she ruins your suit with a beverage, you'll find her charmingly clumsy and fall in love with her. Arthur was silent for a full 5 seconds. When he finally spoke, his tone was laced with absolute zero disdain. Is this a joke? I wish it were. I'm just giving you a heads up, so you can have your security intercept her before she ruins a $10,000 jacket. Why did she steal your invitation? Arthur asked, his analytical brain immediately latching onto the discrepancy. Who is she to you? She's my roommate. And she's currently operating under the belief that my life is a romance novel, and she is the protagonist destined to steal my suitors. I paused, then added with brutal honesty, because I sold her the other two. You sold them? Arthur's voice carried a dangerous edge now. Explain that.
Now.
And so I did. I told him everything. I told him about the $10,000 I charged for Jake. I told him about the $50,000 I charged for Leo. I laid out my entire business model of managing high-net-worth man-children for capital gain. I expected him to hang up. I expected him to be disgusted. Instead, a low, dark chuckle echoed through the phone. You commodified human attachment, Arthur said, and I could practically hear the appreciative smirk on his face. You evaluated their emotional deficits, tailored a product to meet that demand, and then liquidated the asset when the maintenance costs outweighed the benefits.
Exactly.
I'm glad you understand the business model, Arthur. Oh, I understand it perfectly, he murmured softly. Which brings us to an interesting question, Sarah. You sold the gamer. You sold the racer. Why didn't you sell me? I blinked, momentarily caught off guard. I looked out the window at the campus grounds. Emma couldn't afford you. Liar, Arthur said smoothly. You didn't sell me because I'm not a liability. I'm an asset. And you respect assets. Maybe, I conceded. But consider this my resignation. I'm liquidating my entire portfolio. Enjoy your gala, Arthur. Watch out for flying champagne. I hung up, tossing the phone onto my bed. The climax of the great system intervention happened precisely 24 hours later. I was sitting in a quiet, upscale cafe near the campus, enjoying a matcha latte and reviewing the lease agreement for a high-rise apartment I was about to rent. The bell above the cafe door chimed. I didn't look up until a shadow fell over my table. I expected the waiter. Instead, I found 3 men standing in a semicircle around my table. Jake Turner, Leo Vance, Arthur Sterling. They looked like the cover of a billionaire romance novel brought to terrifying, suffocating life. Jake looked hollow and obsessive. Leo looked like a coiled spring, his eyes burning with chaotic energy. Arthur stood perfectly still in a pristine gray suit, projecting an aura of absolute authority. And standing behind them, looking like a drowned rat, was Emma. She was still wearing the red dress from the night before, though it was now stained and wrinkled. Her makeup was smeared. Above her head, the floating text was glitching, flashing a frantic, critical failure. All male leads have formed an alliance. Target, the villainous. System shutdown imminent. I calmly placed a bookmark in my lease agreement, closed the folder, and took a sip of my matcha. Gentlemen, I said, my voice steady. To what do I owe this unprecedented crossover event? Jake slammed his hands on the table, leaning in close. You think this is a joke, Sarah? You think you can just play us, sell us, and walk away? I paid off your entire hospital bill this morning. I bought the hospital's debt collection agency. You owe me. Leo scoffed, shoving his hands into his leather jacket pockets. Please, Jake, she doesn't care about your pocket change. Sarah, I broke up with my racing team today. I told my father I'm quitting the underground circuit. You said I was a liability?
Fine.
I'm safe now. Come with me. Emma let out a pathetic sob from the back. Do you see? She wailed at the empty air, pointing at the glitching text. I did everything right. I spilled the wine. I acted innocent. Why do they all want her? Arthur stepped forward, silencing both Jake and Leo with a mere glance. He pulled out the chair opposite me and sat down, crossing his legs with elegant precision. I had my security team detain Emma last night before she could assault my wardrobe, Arthur said calmly, ignoring the other 2 men. She was quite hysterical, babbling about systems, plot lines, and how she was destined to take everything from you. It was enlightening. It seems we were all pawns in whatever psychological game you two are playing. Arthur leaned across the table, his eyes locking onto mine. They're here because their egos are bruised. They want to possess the one woman who discarded them. But I am here to offer you a job, Sarah. Chief Operations Officer of my new subsidiary. You have the most ruthless, brilliant mind I've ever encountered. Stop playing in the mud with children and come build an empire with me. Jake and Leo immediately erupted in protest. You back off, Sterling. Leo snarled. She's mine. Jake yelled. She was with me first. I listened to them bicker for exactly 30 seconds before I raised my hand. Silence instantly fell over the table. I looked at Jake first. Jake, paying off a bill I already settled with the money I made from selling you doesn't make you a hero. It makes you redundant. You want a mother, not a partner. Go hire a therapist. Jake flinched as if I had struck him. I turned to Leo. Leo, changing your entire life for a woman who explicitly told you she doesn't care about you isn't romantic. It's unhinged. You'll resent me in 6 months and go back to racing to spite me. Find a girl who actually likes the smell of burnt rubber. Leo's jaw tightened, his fists clenching helplessly. Finally, I looked at Arthur. I offered him a polite, corporate smile. Arthur, your offer is genuinely flattering. But I don't work for men who view me as a shiny new asset to acquire. I work for myself. I picked up my folder, sliding it into my designer tote bag, paid for in cash. I used you, I said, addressing all 3 of them, my voice ringing clear in the quiet cafe. I used your loneliness, your arrogance, and your predictability to survive. You can call me a villainess, a gold digger, or a sociopath. I don't care. Because while you were all busy trying to mold me into your perfect fantasy, I was busy securing my reality. I stepped out from the table, walking past them. I paused in front of Emma, who was staring at me with hollow, defeated eyes. Above her head, the floating text flickered one last time. The villainess has shattered the narrative. The host is completely bankrupt. System detaching.
Goodbye.
The text vanished, dissolving into golden dust before winking out of existence completely. Emma collapsed to her knees, weeping into her hands. Life isn't a web novel, Emma, I said softly, looking down at her. There are no cheat codes. There's just leverage, capital, and the intelligence to know when to cash out. I walked out of the cafe, into the bright afternoon sunlight. My phone buzzed in my bag, an alert from my broker confirming the successful transfer of my latest investments. I smiled, breathing in the crisp air. I didn't have 3 billionaires fighting over me anymore. But I had something much, much better. I had peace. And a ridiculously healthy bank account.